rents started moving up a lot in the downtown area. There used to be, no, I mean, at one time there was probably 8 record stores, 9 record stores just down in the downtown core. I think it's possible to sustain the 30 some record stores that are here. Some of the faces may change over the years. Some of them will be forced to move. Some of them may decide that they don't want to move out to the suburb and just shut their business down when the situation arises. But I think the interest in music in this town, in recorded music, and especially right now with vinyl, is very, very strong, and I don't see that going away. You know, back in the 70s when vinyl was king before, it didn't have to compete with so many different things out there. It was music, TV, movies, and then over the years there's been things that have kind of chipped away at the interest of people. Video games, cable TV, computer, cell phones, you name it. And it's, you know, certain people, I think there's a less percentage of people that music is a big part of their life today than there was back in the 70s because of all this activity. But I think there's always going to be a solid core of people that are going to be affected by the music, just like it affected me back in the 70s and made me want to get into working in a record store and eventually having a record store. 1995, I started this group called the Coalition of Independent Music Stores. And it was a group of stores we put together in non-competitive cities. So there would be a store in Austin, a store in Denver, a store in Rochester, New York. And the goal of the whole thing was to be able to work records together that we liked, but be a support group and share ideas with each other. You know, people don't share ideas with competitive businesses in their own city, but in other cities, they just might do it, which is exactly what happened. Out of that, 2 other coalitions started, and there was 3 coalitions. There was our coalition, which was a coalition of independent music stores. There was DOORS, the Department of Record Stores, and there was AIMS, Association for Independent Music Stores. And in 2007, we started Record Store Day. The 3 coalitions did. And we went to the labels and distributors and asked them if they would be up for making cool content on vinyl. Live records, records that were out of print, colored vinyl, just interesting, cool pieces of vinyl that we could have in our stores to sell on one particular day. And that first year we got about 50 titles. And if you look at the sales arc from 2007 to now, that's exactly where it really took its big increase. And this last year on Record Store Day, there was 350 special sanctioned Record Store Day vinyl pieces for that day, and probably another 150 non-sanctioned Record Store Day pieces. So there was about 500 titles that we had that day to turn on to our customers. And they're all limited edition. Some of those were live shows from the past. Some were even live shows that were recorded in record stores. Colored vinyl all over the place. Blood splattered vinyl. Rare records, that hadn't been in print for years. They all came out for that one particular day. And each year we've seen Record Store Day increase, but we've seen business in vinyl increase every year. Now, for a store like us who still sells CDs too, we're seeing a decline in CD sales. Partially because of the interest. Some of those CD customers are becoming vinyl customers again. CDs in general are slowing in sales, and a lot of, especially larger labels and stuff, are taking them out of print because they're not selling enough to their expectation to warehouse them in a warehouse all year. And so they just take them out of print. But then I never thought I would see in 1989 that vinyl would be selling at the rate that it's selling today in 2017. So anything is possible. It's mostly independent stores that are selling vinyl at the rate they are. And a lot of independent stores are just selling vinyl, so 100% of their business is vinyl. But there's still a lot of CDs being sold out there through places like Amazon, truck stops, big box retailers. Here's a reason why vinyl won't infiltrate into a big portion of the business in some of those big box retailers and places like that, because vinyl is non-returnable from most of our distributors. CDs were 100% returnable. We could take chances on everything. Vinyl, buying new vinyl is a very risky thing. Vinyl is more expensive than CDs to the consumer, and it's more expensive to us. So I would say that right now, the average record store across the United States, probably a third of their vinyl inventory in new stock is dead stock. And you know, a big box retailer who wants to get X amount of turns on everything they have in their store and every square foot of their store, and they're not going to take those kind of chances. They're just not going to do it. They may increase their sections as vinyl continues to grow, but then the vinyl consumers, they're going to want to go to a lot of the independent stores around the country because they have a great selection of everything. But even when the independent stores had a great selection in the 70s, there were still people going to Meyer and Frank, Montgomery Ward's, Fred Meyer's, and those kind of stores to buy those things. They might be in the store buying groceries and walking by and go, oh, there's a new Billy Joel, I'm going to pick it up. But I think right now, the bulk of the vinyl buyers are really shopping the independent stores, and that's where you're going to see all the sales as far as the national sales going right now. And another thing about buying new vinyl from, say, somebody like Amazon, vinyl is not as durable as CDs out there. Their covers are easily able to get dinged in shipping and things like that. And when you order a new piece of vinyl in the mail and you get it home and it's got a bent corner or something in the mail, and you got to go through all that hassle of sending it back to get another copy and stuff. You go through that a couple of times, you're probably going to go search out an independent record store. And you can go in there and you can look and you can pick it up and you can go, looks great to me, buying this. Record Store Day US is friends with all these other affiliates out there. In fact, I was back in Nashville for National Industry Conference in May, and there was representatives from 3 different countries. They're Australia, UK, and France there. And everybody has different releases in every country. There may be a couple releases that end up being the same in each country, but they all operate independently of each other and really focus on releases that make sense for their marketplace. You know, a lot of these younger people that grew up in the digital generation that were listening to MP3s, they're a lot of the people that are buying vinyl today. Once they heard the difference of listening to an MP3 and listening to a piece of vinyl, there was a dramatic difference in the sound there that really brought them in. And it doesn't mean that they've abandoned listening to things digitally. Streaming is huge today. Streaming is almost like in the 1970s, like the Portland radio market was pretty great. You could hear a lot of different kind of music on the radio. You can't hear that today like you could hear in the 70s. And a lot of people have adapted and adopted streaming as a way to hear music like they heard on the radio. Back then they'd hear something on the radio, and if they really liked it a lot, they went in the record store and bought it. Today, a lot of people will check out streaming to hear different things, and if they really like it, they'll go down to the record store and buy it. The things they don't like so much, they didn't buy it. They just listened to the radio, they just listened to streaming. When Record Store Day was introduced, it was to do 2 things. It was to create this cool content to have in record stores for people that were interested in vinyl, but it also gave us the opportunity to do a national press release to let people out there know there's still record stores left in the world, because the media up until 2007 had really painted a picture that record stores were going away. Digital was putting record stores out of business, and there just wasn't going to be any record stores anymore. And so that was pretty rooted in the minds of a lot of consumers out there. And I mean, we still run into people who goes, "You still got a record store? You got a record store? There's record stores?" And especially older customers, because there was a lot of record stores that did go away. In the year 2000, there was 7,500 record stores in America. 7 years later, when Record Store Day happened, there was 1,800 record stores in America. So the media was partially right that digital had put a dent into record stores. But the record stores that were still left at that time were left because they were passionate people about the music. And they had to make a lot of changes in the way they did business in those years of digital in order to stay alive. And there was many record stores that did make changes during that time that weren't able to weather the storm and did go under. And they might have been in a marketplace that, for whatever particular reasons, other things played into it. The economy, rent, you know, rent alone could have put a record store out of business. And in our case, we shut down a store because of the rent factor. But the record stores that made it, it's because the owners of those stores went to work every day because of the love in music. It wasn't for the bottom line. I mean, we had 8 years in there where we lost money, but we figured out ways to keep the door open and go forward. The one thing about vinyl and the quality of sound, I equate a 12-inch record to give you 12 inches of sound, and that's the most sound that you can get. Now when you go to CD, it clips a little off of each end, so you get about 10 inches of sound. Still great sounding. I mean, they really are in most cases. When you get to an MP3, 1 inch of sound.